The United Nations says violence against senior citizens has increased during COVID-19 lockdowns. Today is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It's estimated that 700 million of the world's population are over the age of 60. So how best can we safeguard them beyond COVID-19? Well, to discuss this and the significance of the day, I'm joined now via Zoom by social worker Hylton Marks, who does a lot of work around this particular topic of caring for the elderly as well as issues of elderly abuse. So, Hylton, thank you so much for joining me. How concerning is the situation around elderly abuse?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, and good afternoon to you and your listeners. The situation of elder abuse, as you said, is a worldwide problem, and it's something that happens across all classes and all groups of societies, unfortunately, and especially now that the world has gone crazy in the science fiction called COVID, where families are functioning on a completely different level than they would normally do. And we've seen violence increase in families because of the lockdown, because people are spending more time together in a closed space. And the older people suffer because of this as well. And why we have such things as an older Persons Abuse Awareness Day is to bring this to the fore, because unfortunately often the elderly are pushed to one side and nobody gives them a second thought.
So what forms does this abuse take, Hylton, especially within the context of COVID-19? I mean, I had to pause for a moment when we were discussing this topic and try and think of the scenarios in which, you know, people would abuse people that ordinarily in a society we should be appreciating.
Yeah, abuse takes a number of forms. The ones that we see most frequently include financial abuse, which is usually when an older person is deprived of their older person's grant. Family members or friends often take that money by force from an older person and spend it on things that are not in the older person's best interests. There's emotional abuse, where older people are threatened, where they are insulted, where they are demeaned, whether they are just told that they are not worth anything, that they're a burden to the family. There's sexual abuse. Unfortunately, we've seen a few of these cases recently in the press, which is something that is just beyond belief. And then, of course, there's also physical abuse, where older persons are either treated with physical force, or they're locked in a room, or they, in some cases, have even been tied to a bed. It's a horror story all on its own.
In terms of policy, legislative responses, as well as, you know, general responses by society and all of society response to the problems that you raise, how are we faring as a country?
Well, you know, it started off in 2003. There was the World Conference on Aging, where the philosophy of caring for older people completely changed, where it became a much more inclusive philosophy, where the rights of older people were respected. And the aims of the philosophy are to help people, older people, achieve what's called active aging, where older people can take part in decisions that affect them directly, that they can be kept as active for as long as possible in the community, and where their rights are upheld. And this philosophy is enshrined in the Older Persons Act, number 13 of 2006, by which older people are protected in this country. Unfortunately, as in every other society, it often happens that the stipulations as laid down in the Older Persons Act are not abided by. Family members, communities, or whoever else is responsible.
All right, thank you for your time there and for your insights there. Hylton Marks talking to us about this day, which is Elder Abuse Awareness Day, as well as issues to do with an all-of-society response to the problem of elder abuse in our society.